Well, let's talk about those two children. We're learning more about how Beatrice and Eugenie are feeling. And of course, it would be a shock to no one that they are feeling appalled and embarrassed.
Well, they're actually aghast, appalled, and embarrassed about what's emerged. Now, it's always embarrassing when your parents do terrible things, but in the circumstances, it is even worse. And it's not just what's being revealed about the extent of Andrew's relationship and also those terrible pictures which are shown with Andrew on all fours next to a female on the ground and various other things. The context of that, we're not entirely sure, but clearly it's not an image that you'd want published everywhere. But also, you've got the plunged further humiliation about embarrassing details about Sarah herself. And in one of her ones, she talks about, the brother I've always wished for. She was praising him and that sort of side, having denied any sort of contact. She was basically, and also in complete humiliation for Eugenie. She says she's waiting for her youngest daughter to return from a shagging weekend. Now, how humiliating is that? Not just your parents talking about that sort of side, but also in the context of the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So actually, my thoughts go out to Princess Beatrice and Eugenie. They've grown up with this. And if anybody was hoping they would escape any further scrutiny, they were sadly wrong. And that scrutiny will continue, I predict, for some time to come.
Look, before we move on from the Epstein fallout, police in the UK announced a criminal investigation into Britain's former ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson. Following this release of more and more Epstein files, Metropolitan Police said that they've received a number of reports into alleged misconduct in public office, including a referral from the UK government. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, this is, again, a complete scandal. Peter Mandelson is now Peter Scandalson, is what I would say, is that the more and more of these revelations coming out. Again, there are some horrendous images being circulated, including him in his underpants with somebody else in Epstein's presence, and also his relationship with Epstein. He says he can't remember receiving a $75,000 finance from that sort of side. But the biggest problem about this, as you say, is the criminal investigation following the claims that he passed on market-sensitive information to Jeffrey Epstein. And Mandelson was a key figure in the government at that stage. It was the Cabinet Office have referred the matter to the police, and basically it's internal government information. It's really incredibly shocking. He was business secretary at the time in 2009. He's said, and it's all happened in the last few hours, it's been dominating the news over here in the UK. He's stepping down from the House of Lords, the Lord Speaker says. On Sunday, he reiterated his regret for ever having known Epstein and for continuing his association following Epstein's conviction. As I say, that's where the timing is key when you sort of turn around. He'd already been convicted and Mandelson was still in contact. He has been approached for further comment. And he's basically said, look, he can't recall all of it. He wasn't sure if the photos may have been doctored or the documents doctored or whatever. But there is a process. Whilst he will not sit in the Lords, there is a process about removing his title. And that process is now going to be looked at. And there could well be a vote in the Commons here tomorrow as the government publish more information relating to Mandelson. And again, the question will be, because he was appointed to that incredibly important position as the UK's ambassador to the US, what was the process that went through? What was known when he had that appointment? And I always say, look, sunlight is the best disinfectant when you're looking at that sort of side. And certainly trust comes in on foot and leaves on horseback. And trust is at an all-time low in certain parts of the political parties at this moment. And this is only going to fuel that fire.
Let's move on from the Epstein files now and on to other royal news. Princess Catherine is reportedly earning her nickname as Sporty Spice Princess during a recent visit to the Wakefield Trinity Rugby Club. The Princess of Wales spoke about her own sporting history, noting that she played lots of netball in school.
Oh, she is. And listen, isn't it so refreshing to have positive news to talk about with the royal family? And Princess Catherine she's the epitome of dignity, the epitome of grace, and the epitome. She is the people's princess, as a phrase coined beforehand for Princess Diana. But also she shows this sporting prowess. Sporty Spice Princess is the nickname on the field, and also she's very, very good in the kitchen, apparently. And what happened, this was down in Wakefield Trinity Rugby Club. She spoke about her own sporting history. She knows she plays lots of netball, but skipped rugby and football. And what happened? She wasn't officially involved in rugby, but joins when family play together at home. And her youngest son, Prince Louis, he takes part in rugby tots session. It's a great way of doing it. It's a sort of non-contact sports where you grab a tag as opposed to tackling people. And obviously Prince George, he's becoming a pro. George, now if we play at home, I do not want to get tackled by George, the princess shared. Well, he's getting a big lad and we see more and more of him. But she's done all sorts of things, from scuba diving to getting involved with curling, you know, putting things on the ice and stuff like that. And she's very much one of the people. She's very relatable. She's adored by the public over here, as we discussed last time when we looked at the Royals polls.
Oh, she's adored absolutely everywhere. Not sure about Prince Harry, though, and we have to speak about him. He was recently in the UK and he's likely to return for one special reason. What's that?
Well, this is all to do, and this is the good thing that Harry does, is he was over here very recently, and we talked about this last time, for the ongoing court case that he has about access to what he alleges is private information for generating stories. This particular one is he's basically coming back for the Invictus Games, the 1-year countdown. He founded the Invictus Games in 2014. It was the international contest, and again, this is a positive thing, and it's good to say that, for wounded, injured and sick armed force members and veterans and their families. So he's predicted to come over here in July in Birmingham. There will be a series of events heralding the 1-year countdown for the Invictus Games. And I always say, look, in amongst the other stuff, and we often in the media talk about the bad stuff about Harry and Meghan, this is one of the good things that he does. So praise where praise is due. He will be due over here. There will be the usual questions, Gabriella, about security arrangements and so on and so forth. Will Meghan come with him? Will the two grandchildren, which King Charles basically would be delighted to see, will they come? But all of that will depend on these security arrangements. You remember last year I spoke about he lost his court case about being able to force that and guarantee that every time. It's been decided on a case-by-case basis. They will determine over the next few weeks, and there'll be further announcements, I'm sure, and we'll bring that to you right here on the Brilliant Power Hour when we can.
Yes, you will. Now, sticking with Meghan Markle, apparently Netflix staff are helping themselves to free As Ever products, including jam. Those are reports out of Page 6. But also, Meghan's launching a new product just in time for Valentine's Day. And Andrew Eborn, I know you're going to be trying them out for us.
Oh, well, I do, and I tried the jam. Well, as they say, it was spam jam or scam jam, because you couldn't call it jam because it didn't have the right amount of sugar and things like that in it. And I actually quite liked it. It was a bit bitter, like some of the comments that were made about the product. But they are eye-watering in terms of cost. What's happening about the excess product, if you like? Netflix starts to be helping themselves to these As Ever products in their streamer's Los Angeles office. And they're filled with all sorts of wares that what's happened. Apparently there are storage rooms full of this stuff. And some people are walking out with them with these wonderful flower petals and so on and so forth. And I was looking at the figures about how many were actually involved. I mean, thousands and thousands of these products. Apparently this were meant always as gifts and for promotional purposes, which is what happened. But I was looking at the website today, the As Ever, and we've got Valentine's Day. I know you're all saving up, and I will act surprised when my gifts arrive in the post. But what happens? I was looking at the As Ever products. Here we are. And they have something called the Valentine's Edit. I'll read it to you quickly. It's a limited edition Valentine's bundle, brings together some of our most beloved offerings alongside a brand new chocolate collaboration curated to be savoured slowly and shared generously. From morning tea to candlelight evenings, each piece is designed to turn everyday moments into something memorable. And for that, you get some chocolate bar collective, crafted exclusively for As Ever, and wrapped in botanical design made for gifting. You get paired with our strawberry and raspberry spreads, presented with keepsake packaging. We've looked at that as well. And also, you made to linger longer after the last spoonful, and you get a pour of hibiscus tea. Adds a floral, gentle tart note, while flower sprinkles. You have to have those, don't you?
Of course.
Invite a playful finishing touch. We mustn't forget those flower sprinkles. Now, how much would you say for that wonderful Valentine's Edit? How much would you pay for that, Gabriella?
How much is it? Am I going to be shocked?
Well, it's an eye-watering. You've got to love somebody a lot for this. It's an eye-watering $185.
For chocolate?
For chocolate and
flower sprinkles.
Stuff, and the tea and the bits and pieces. And, of course, those very, very important flower sprinkles. You must love somebody a lot to give them one of those packages.
You know, I love chocolate. I would spend a lot of money on chocolate. I'm not sure I would spend that amount for Meghan Markle's chocolate and flour sprinkles, but I know you're going to try it for us. You're going to report back and tell us if it was really worth it.
The sacrifices I make for you, Gabriella.
And we appreciate it so much. Andrew Eborn, lovely to talk to you. Thank you for joining us.
A joy as always. See you next week.